build animatronic robots for a long time, but I kept getting stuck on this one problem. Where do I get started? If you just look it up on YouTube, you're not going to get a clear answer. Start with a hand, an exoskeleton, an entire robot dinosaur? It was a little confusing trying to figure out where to begin. And eventually, after spending a while just trying to figure out how I should get started, I decided to try the Will Cogley Eye Mech. It would come with everything I need, and hopefully I would get a better understanding of how to build animatronics. The package finally came, so now we can unbox it. We have all 3D cool pieces in the plastic bag. A lot of different servo motors and servo horns. And a really cool custom PCB. These are the eyes that came with it. I didn't get any of the special kind ones, so I'm going to paint mine with a Sharpie. To build the iMech, I mainly followed the YouTube video on Will Cogley's Notion and built it kind of like a Lego set. And overall, it was going quite well, until it wasn't. A lot of the parts on the robot were really hard to get in, but one piece in particular was very hard to get in. And so after struggling with it for about 30 minutes, I eventually just gave up on the part and then 3D printed it on my printer to be about just 10% bigger. And thankfully it fit in, and the rest of the robot was working pretty well. Eventually, it was done, and it was time for the moment of truth. But as you can see, the robot was clearly struggling. It was like his eyes were kind of lost up in his eyelids, and it took me several days to just try and figure out where I went wrong. And it seemed nearly impossible because there were no visible errors to me of what was wrong with the robot. I spent the next several days just trying to figure out where I went wrong, and eventually I just had to give up and come back to it a couple days later. After I took it entirely apart and rebuilt the entire robot from scratch, I figured out that the main issue was how the servos were initially positioned before I turned it on. If I had the robot initially like this, where he already looks kind of weird, like his eyes are already stuck in his eyelids, if I turn him on, then he would continue to look very weird. But if I had it in a good initial position, kind of like the one at the beginning, well then he would work, kind of like the final version. Another big problem was this middle piece right here. Basically, you're supposed to kind of clip this in and screw it in before you make sure the servo is secured in place. But I didn't do that. I had the servo secured, and then I couldn't get this in exactly right. Therefore, it was moving kind of awkwardly. So when I took it apart and rebuilt it, I made sure that this piece here was put in first before I clipped it in, and that allowed it to move up and down a whole lot better. Now that I had all the problems fixed, it was time to turn the robot on again. This time, it actually worked, and it was so cool to see the robot moving like a real pair of eyes. I've been wanting to do animatronic robotics for a long time, and this project was really fun, and I'd totally recommend it to anyone else who wants to get started in animatronics too. It was pretty simple, but really fun. And so, now that he's done, it's time to announce his name. So let me know what your name ideas are in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time!